Hi, in this session, it's going to be more of mindfulness and relaxation. So you may not want to watch this video, you can just listen to it, but just get into a comfortable place, or it's okay if you're walking, but don't listen to this video and expect to get anything out of it in the middle of a chaotic situation where you can't close your eyes if you want to or take some deep breaths. So try to make space for this video. I'm going to put on my yoga teacher hat instead of my coaching hat and walk you through the things you can do when you're feeling anxiety. Anxiety exists on a spectrum, just like so many other things. So often we think, well, I have anxiety. Okay, well, the first thing with anxiety is to recognize that you're having it. That is very, very powerful. And that requires mindfulness. So when you are feeling or thinking that you're anxious, what's important to do is to then shift and feel where that anxiety is happening in your body. So, right now, just close your eyes if you want, do a body scan and notice any tightness or tension or pain or anything that you're experiencing in your body. Just scan. And as you find it, see if you can manually override. Often I am running around through my day and my shoulders are pinned to my ears and I'm hunched forward, so my back is getting, stretched in the not in a good way, and I'm clenching my jaw. So becoming aware of how we physically are holding tension is a huge part of releasing it. So as you're moving through your body, what is tension? What does anxiety feel like? And where does it reside? Anxiety is, like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, rating your anxiety. I had a therapist once, he was brilliant, and he told me that dealing with my anxiety when I'm at an 8 is much harder to interrupt, all the chaos that's happening in my body and in my brain. It's much harder to do that when it gets to an 8. The key to managing anxiety is to catch it as when it's a 2 or a 3. So learning to use feelings of anxiety as positive messengers that you need to slow down, you need to take a deeper breath, whatever, you need to relax your muscles is a very positive way of dealing with it, and it actually changes our response to that anxiety when we view it as a helpful messenger. So I want you to start to think that when you're feeling anxiety, that's a cue that you can take. There's needs that aren't being met. There's fears and anxieties that need to be addressed. And using the feelings of anxiety as a way to start to become aware of your own needs is really powerful. But for now, let's just focus on the physical manifestations of anxiety. So the first thing that I encourage you to do in this process is to do that body scan and become mindful of where anxiety is being held in your body. And then, to the extent that you can, releasing and relaxing it. The second thing that you do is then you start to breathe deeply. And you don't have to use any specific breath technique. It's enough to just shift from that shallow breathing. Often when we're going throughout our day and we're busy, we're only using about 15% of our lung capacity. So mindfully directing the air into the bottom of your lungs, it gets out the debris and the allergens. It lowers your blood pressure. It also stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. So when we're jacked up on cortisol and adrenaline, it counters those brain chemicals and releases more endorphins. So just breathing deeply has a really positive effect on how you feel. One of my favorite breathing techniques is called box breathing. And if I explain it, you may have heard it under a different name. There's lots of names, but box breathing is basically just where you inhale, hold, exhale, hold, all on an even basis. And it doesn't necessarily have to be even, but using numbers to count helps you kind of match. So even if you're not matched up, you're aware, and maybe you can try to even the breath out. But you'll inhale nice and deep, and it helps to physically expand your belly. Even though the air doesn't go in the belly, it somehow allows you to breathe deeper into your lungs. So you can place your hand on your belly and inhale as deep as you can and count that inhale, and then hold. See if you can hold for the same amount. It's okay if you can't. Just using those numbers distracts your mind, gives it something to do. And then as you exhale, letting it all out, following that exhale down to the bottom so that you're completing that exhale. It's not a partial exhale, staying with it until all the air has been pushed out, and then holding at the bottom of that exhale and just repeating that cycle. It's a really great thing to set reminders on your phone to take breathing breaks. It's just as powerful as cardiovascular exercise. It is cardiovascular exercise. So, remembering to breathe throughout the day is a really key tool to not having that anxiety, continue to rise. It really helps interrupt and reverse that cycle. The next thing, so after you've manually released your tension, that's number one. And then number two, you've put in some deep breathing. Number three is to correct your posture. So what that looks like is, imagine that the top of your head, there's a string and somebody's pulling that string. And so it literally lengthens your spine. You can start all the way down in your pelvis. Lengthen your spine out of the base of your pelvis. Lengthen it through the back of your neck. Pull the chin in, lengthen the back of the neck. As you do that, you'll notice your shoulders drop. Also, the tension's dropping with it. And then open your heart. So draw your shoulders down your back and open your heart. So now we've created all this additional space for that breathing exercise to be even more powerful and more effective. I love to do this sort of thing like when I'm in my car or take a moment at my desk, and I use the cue. I love to touch my shoulders to the seat that I'm sitting in, like in your car. And you'll be amazed at how like awkward that feels because we're so used to being hunched over, and that just creates so much tension. So right now we're undoing that tension. So if you touch your shoulders to the back of your car seat, and if you're not sitting, then just manually extending through the top of the head, opening the heart, and breathing deep into the belly. It's really powerful. And then the final thing that really pulls all of this together, um, wiggle your toes. That's what it is. Find your toes in your shoes. Place your feet on solid ground if you're not standing up, and wiggle your toes. And for me, this actually maybe feels better than, everybody experiences things different. When I'm doing that, it almost feels like a little massage because my feet are sticking to my shoes or the ground. So lifting your toes, spreading your toes, and then placing them down and just feeling the sensation of your feet in contact with the ground. This is a grounding exercise. So it drops you from the chaotic, frenetic energy of whatever's going on in your brain, and it brings you down into your body. So connecting all of these things together, becoming mindful of the tension that you are holding in your body, and then beginning to correct that with deep breathing, box breathing, and lengthening and opening your posture, opening your heart, and then finally wiggling your toes. You can do this multiple times throughout the day. Again, maybe set a reminder on your phone, and just do a breathing break. 10 deep breaths as you correct your posture, manually override the tension. And you'll notice that this is, it's not as powerful as, say, 3 glasses of wine and a Xanax, but it's not a drug. But it's the way you can stay ahead of your anxiety. So when you notice that your anxiety is creeping up, use that as a positive invitation to do what you can. And what this does is it allows you to put space, time and space, in between whatever the stimulus is and your response. We often kind of just go through life reacting. We're chicken with our head cut off, just impulse response, instant gratification response, all of these things. And using our own body as a helpful messenger, whatever it's experiencing is intelligent, and it's giving us direction. Using those cues of anxiety to put space in between the stimulus and the response allows us to become that person who is our best self, that calm, non-reactive, wise. The best advice when you don't know what to do is to do nothing. Just breathe. Unless you're actually being chased by a tiger or your house is on fire, there's always space that you can put in that allows you to just center and ground and calm yourself down and move from that place instead of that reactive mode. So take these practices into your daily habits and notice how powerful they are. I'll see you in the next session.